What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Project Bombshell. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Obviously, we've got lots of stuff going on with the restoration project here. My Car Steel over there. That is a Frankenstein Coyote swapped build. And the focus of today's video is going to be kind of running all the fluids and lines and everything, getting that situated on this car. So if you saw in the last video, we wrapped up putting the motor in, huge, as well as the transmission, huger. And then obviously getting all the IDS stuff straight on the car. So yeah, with that, we got the transmission in. I think I probably showed you guys like the power by the hour, like transmission line bracket thingy. So that's on the trans, and now we have to run lines for the cooler, which is in place. So radiator's in the car. In between the radiator, you have the transmission cooler, which you can kind of see these little welded-on AN fittings right here. These are the 90s kind of in there for mock-up, getting an understanding of how everything needs to fit. And then we have our AC condenser up front, AC line right here and here. So this one provided no clearance issues whatsoever. The upper one, however, kind of is right in line with this 90-degree fitting that goes in. It's not going to be an issue once it's all put together, but I'm going to have to kind of order of operations it together so that it all goes copacetically. And so here we have the AN line. This is a dash AN line, and I've got two end hose fittings in place already. Kind of installed those off camera. But now we're gonna go ahead and cut the line, and then I will install the 90-degree fittings for the cooler side onto these, and we'll go ahead and mount these up in the car. And then I do also have a couple of these little guys. They're AN line like brackets, I guess, so it kind of keeps the lines held together. So we'll put those in a couple different places once they're in the car. And then last but not least, we have a couple of coolant lines to run the radiator and water neck and all that stuff on the front of the motor. So let's get after it. Guys, look at my hot wife. Stop. She got a haircut. She said if her car's gonna be called Bombshell, she gotta fit the part. We have our lines on the cooler right here. I was finding that after routing them though, the lower line has a lot of slack. So lines come off of the trans here and run down up between the oil pan, but you can kind of see on this one, there's a ton of slack right there. So I could leave it, but I think I wanna pull it out and shorten it so it's a little bit more just tightened up a little bit. And then it runs through, up through there along the AC compressor and up into the cooler. So now that we have the lines figured out, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the AC lines back out of the condenser so that we can replace the gaskets and O-rings on these with fresh ones. So we know there's a nice good seal when we go to recharge the AC. And the other one's right there. And this line has to be off while I do that, and then I'll be able to reinstall that line.
3 weeks later.
All right, so I don't remember what all I said last time, but I was trying to work on the fuel line stuff, and had picked up a couple different 6AN fittings for that. The MMR one didn't work, and then I picked up another Russell one, which also ended up not working, was like too tall before it would connect to the quick connect on the fuel pump. So I did attempt to grind it, and that didn't work. And lo and behold, we just did a massive job on a buddy's car. I did a Vortec V7 JTB install, as well as like a fuel system and a bunch of stuff. So we were actually able to salvage the fuel line off of his car so that we can drop it into Bombshell. So that's what we're focusing on, as I already told you guys before, getting all the fluids situated so we can get this freaking motor started for the first time. And I know that somebody's excited about that. So yeah, she's gonna help me knock this fuel line out. The other cool thing that came from that install is the Vortec and Paxton usually give you this tank, but it's plastic. So he actually opted to pick up the metal coolant tank from JPC, just like what I run on my car. You don't have to worry about this potentially cracking as much on those. So we are gonna go ahead and throw this on Melissa's car because it's gonna be a little bit of a cleaner look than it would be if you ran just the stock coolant tank. So I think that'll be pretty cool, nice little upgrade for her. So earlier I picked up a bunch of hosing that's over there on the table based on you know, swapping out this for the other one that mounts on the side of the motor. So with that being said, basically this is what it would look like. This is more what it's actually going to look like when it rolls out. It's just going to be a much cooler, cleaner looking motor that way. So we're going to run with that, and I think it's going to look sick. So again, shout out to Brandon on donating the fuel line here. Pretty excited we were able to salvage that off of his car. So we're going to throw that in and then I guess catch up after that. Yeah, don't care. Fuel line done.
So now we're stuck with the drive shaft and the exhaust vent and then start it.
We gotta do coolant and then the intake. That's more important.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we got the coolant tank mounted and lines all run. You can see all that's looking pretty spiffy. And we got the upper radiator hose. I put fresh O-ring on that, and then this one is routed there. So with that, we can now go ahead and start adding oil and coolant into the motor, which Melissa's gonna do while I do a little bit of wrap up. I'm gonna try and finish modifying this intake duct. I found like a 45 degree to kind of mount up at the boss, but it's not quite 45, so I'm gonna do a little cutting, make that work, and yeah, she's gonna add fluids. So as you guys saw, we got fluids in the motor now. So there's oil and coolant, everything's good there. I did go ahead and finish cutting this little silicone boot, so now the intake's all mounted. That's looking pretty good. And I did take the time and get the catch can all sorted out, which I'm not 100% sure if we're gonna keep it the way it is or not yet. I'm gonna let Melissa decide, because that cover that would go over the battery, obviously there's not enough clearance with the way that this is mounted, so I would either have to cut it or figure out, maybe get like a different type of catch can. So I'm gonna let her decide. We may just decide to switch it up. It's gonna be up to her. And I did get those Boss Thread 2 fuel rail covers on, so that really just cleans up the whole look. I did also take the time and finish up the last little bits with the fuel pump. I clipped the line in. I had to do a little bit of wiring touch up for the level sender, so that should be good. We'll know tomorrow when I put gas in the car. So at this point, now that we got all the fluids and everything in the car, Melissa does want to start it with the full exhaust on for the first time. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to drop the axle tomorrow so that we get access to the suspension and things like that, but more importantly so that we can get the over axle pipes in place, so we can go ahead and mount all the exhaust and get that in place. So we probably won't have the suspension done right away. First things first is just get the exhaust in place so she can hear this sucker. So stay tuned for that. All right guys, so today's focus, like I told you, we are gonna be pulling the rear end out of the car. Melissa's down here, we're gonna knock that out, throw the exhaust in, and then get the sucker started. Smiley face. So the only thing really holding the rear end in right now is the shocks and then the control arms. The springs are kind of hanging out too, obviously, but otherwise it's more or less disconnected. We've got no sway bar, we've got no panhard bar, so half the stuff was never really bolted together. And that was mainly just because we only needed to be able to roll it around when we took it to paint. Got all the arms off. One bolt is holding the upper control arm in place right now, and we're gonna go ahead and start lowering the rear end to pull it out of the car. So as you guys saw, we got the rear end out, and since then I've been doing a couple other little things to wrap up the transmission. Rear end's chilling over here. The one of the bolts was messed up on the chassis, so I was trying to re-tap it. It kind of worked, but I ended up just getting mad and sticking in a spacer in there, so the bolt had enough thread engagement that way. And I did figure out the shifter linkage as well, so I now know what park is on the transmission. It's all the way forward. And then you can tell when it's an automatic, so you put it in park and then try to spin the tail shaft, it'll lock up and won't actually spin. So that's a good way to know that you're in park with the automatic. And now we're just adding transmission fluid. The transmission had some fluid in it, but not a whole lot. And I've got a case of 4 gallons or something. I don't know, someone gave it to me, I don't even remember who, but shout out to them. So we are in the process of filling up a couple quarts of transmission fluid into the trans, because obviously we need to fill the cooler, all the lines. So no, I don't think it's Gatorade. It's not blood either. So we have to fill the lines and the cooler. There's lots of fluid that needs to get into that whole system. But the only really way to fill it up is to actually do it when it's running. So we're just gonna, kind of top it off as best we can while it's cold. Once we turn it on, get some fluid running through it, we'll probably be able to get a better idea of where it's at, maybe do some more when it's cold, because it's gonna be really hard to reach when it's hot. If you guys aren't familiar, the 6RD fill dipstick tube on the trans is literally right next to the exhaust, so kind of awful.
Just updating the people.
Well, you got quad tips now.
I got one's on. One's getting put on. Looks so good. That the chrome or silver, whatever, next to the blue looks so good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
It just pops. And it's not even daylight. It's dark. Exhaust is almost done. And that is the update.
All right, so as you guys saw, the exhaust is, well, now it's done. So now we can start the car, but before we do that, we have to tune it. So giving the keys to Melissa, and she's going, fuel pump. Oh. That was just running dry. You know what, let me throw some gas in before you key on again. So Melissa told me just now that like she just got really nervous all of a sudden, and like part of me really wants to like mess with her, but also part of me knows like this is a moment that she's been looking forward to for so long, so I don't really want to mess with her on this one. So you're welcome, Melissa. That's how much I love you. Nothing. So you have the key, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the trickle charger's already on there doing its thing. So key on, we'll put the key in, and then you're gonna go to program vehicle, select bottom right, big red button. Yep. Custom tune.
Select.
Yep.
Okay, California.
Turn key on, into the on position, not like you're trying to start it.
And then continue.
Yep, continue. It's gonna tell you what to do. Turn key off. Continue. Select. Set your tune. So press continue. Probably have the key back on. Begin program. And now it's doing things.
How long does this normally take?
Probably like 10 minutes. It's a little after midnight on a Monday night for context. But at this point, we're too close not to. All right, so we're gonna do a couple turnovers to try and prime the motor a little bit, get some fresh oil going through everything because it's been sitting for a while, and then you guys will get to witness the first start. So key all the way out, and then I want you to put the key in and on. I want to listen for the fuel pump real quick. Yep. Okay, cool. So that is good. So now go ahead and do that one more time. Count to 10 and then key off.
Okay.
This is the one.
So what do I do now? Do it again?
Keep your foot off the gas and start it like normal. What a relief, huh? Did you think it was ever going to happen? Huh? Dog, let's go. So there's gonna be a little bit of smoking because like we spilled some coolant and stuff like that, but it kind of went away pretty quick.
I know, I saw you do that, I was like, oh yeah, smelled that cool.
Yeah. Tears of joy, everybody. What's up? Congrats. I love you. There you have it, guys. It starts, it runs, we're ecstatic. It sounds phenomenal. And the most exciting part of every video, crossing off the list.
Exhaust.
Check.
Tune. Wait.
Tune. Yep. So tune and start. You can do both of those.
I'm like shaking.
Yeah. You can cross off trans flush too. So we're just gonna fill it up with fluid and then that'll be good.
This?
Yep. We've already started that. We'll, finish it up over time. So that's what I was saying is that, where we are right now, drive shaft, suspension, rear end, put some wheels on the car once we get the brakes, and then you're good to drive. All right, guys, so we kind of forgot to wrap the video up yesterday. As you saw, we crossed off a couple things off the list.
Late last night, we were really excited.
Yep, we went upstairs.
Just wanted ice cream and go to bed.
Yeah, it was good.
It was like 1:30.
Yeah, celebratory ice cream hit the bed, and it's been a day. Melissa did actually point out to me this morning there's a puddle under the car. Turns out it's trans fluid. I kind of pinpointed it to the fact that it's probably the converter input shaft seal thing, whatever is on the front of the trans. So I'm gonna have to figure out and replace that. It's coming in tomorrow, so I'll do that off camera, just because it's working backwards to work forwards. But obviously we have a running car, which is huge. From here, we're gonna be wrapping up the suspension and the rear end install on the car, and that's gonna be majority of the mechanical stuff, as well as after that, we'll be able to do the brakes and the wheels. So we're really close to being able to drive this thing. Huh?
If we ever get them.
We should soon. So there you have it, guys. First start in the books. Anything you want to add?
I'm just excited to finish it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited that it sounds so good.
I know, me too.
What's interesting too, though, is like that's the exact exhaust setup I had on my car, and
But it
like
sounds different.
it does. And I think it's because of the blower. Like it sounds louder to me than it
Mine
did
does?
when it was. When it was on compared to when it was on my car.
Yeah.
Like I think it's actually louder on yours. Probably because it's NA. I don't know, something to do with it. But it sounds pretty dang good. I'm excited to see it cruising down the road going.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Obviously, we have really cool content that we try to put out there for you all to enjoy. Definitely hit the like button if you're enjoying the Bombshell rebuild series. We are almost there. Can't wait to see this thing done. Definitely check out our Instagrams. Those are also linked down below, Bombshell50 and then Pokemaster BS 5.0.
For more up-to-date info.
That's right, because this is behind. Sorry.
So, Merry Christmas, maybe. And you know what? You go through this and you're gonna be like, damn it.
That's going to do it, guys. Peace out. We'll catch you in the next one. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm getting fucking triggered, dog.